Mel had only been at Caltech for a few weeks, but it already felt like home. Enough so that she didn't really want to visit her parents in Olympus just yet. Another bothersome element of the trip was that she couldn't wear her usual jeans, t-shirt, and tennis shoes. She'd become used to such comfortable clothing, but they would never do for a trip home, much less to Olympus for the equinox celebration. Thus, for the occasion, she was dressed in a pale blue chiton that left her shoulders bare, a cream-colored skirt, and flat sandals that laced up her calf. Instead of her hair being loose down her back, it was curled and tied up at the back of her head in nice folds with a leather cord. She laughed at the thought of Sarah and her new friends not recognizing her dressed like this. It was time to go, though, so she picked up a package of treats for Cerberus on the desk. Thinking of her old friend made her smile. It had only been a matter of weeks. She did miss Cerberus. She looked at the picture of a cavern hanging on the wall, took a step, and found herself in the cavern of gray rock and deep shadows. The air was chill, damp, and musty. She could hear the flow of the Lethe behind her. The opening of a large tunnel faced her. After a few steps toward the tunnel, a loud bay sounded. The sound faded into echoes, but two more canine voices took it up. Mel only had time enough to set the package down before she was bowled over by a huge form of Cerberus. The three-headed beast was easily 6 foot at the shoulder, with shaggy white fur splattered with black blotches. One head was black, one white, and the middle head was as spotted as the rest of him. Each head was collared by a ruff of longer hair. All of him was happy to see her, and the three heads took turns bathing her with their tongues. Cerberus! Mel tried to make her tone sharp, but her laughter made it difficult. Cerberus, down! She finally managed to make her tone authoritative enough that the fierce hound of the underworld listened. Let me up, Cerberus. And he did, though likely because the package she'd brought suddenly caught the attention of the middle head. Mel snatched the bag up and got back to her feet. I don't know that you deserve these now. The words didn't stop him from sniffling and nuzzling at the bag. She swatted at his noses, but they kept coming back. Finally, unable to control her laughter, she pulled out the box of treats. Cerberus didn't know what they were, but he knew he wanted them, and he started prancing about. Mel tore off the top of the box, then scattered the treats everywhere. Cerberus tried to go in 3 directions at once, chasing them with each of his heads, which made Mel laugh even harder. Her laughter died down, and she ruffled the fur at his shoulder, and he snuffled out treats. She gave him a final pat on the shoulder and turned back to the tunnel into the underworld proper. I'll see you again before I leave, she said, and walked into the deeper gloom. The path to the throne room wound through many tunnels and chambers. Several were crowded with the shades of the dead. She paused to speak with a few she knew, but most were nothing more than faceless shapes she ignored. She probably could have passed through fewer to get to the throne room, but this was her father's realm. He could do with it as he wished, and he always put visitors through some sort of maze. She knew her way, though. She'd been born here, so she found her way to the throne room in fairly short order. Her father's presence surprised her. He sat on his throne wearing a robe of flowing dark purple velvet and a gold circlet on his brow. Noticing her surprise, he said, Your mother hasn't descended yet. She will return with me after the equinox on Olympus. Oh, I guess I'm just used to her being here already when we go to Olympus. Taking note of her father's frown, Mel looked down at herself for the first time. Her clothes were a wreck. She was covered in fur and slobber from Cerberus's attention, and she was in an overall state of disarray. What happened? Did you and Cerberus fight? Concern colored Hades' voice, but there was a touch of disapproval there also. No, he was just happy to see me. Mel blushed a bit. I also brought him some treats, so he got a bit excited. Feeling self-conscious now, Mel ran her hands down her dress, and the hair fell away and the wet spots dried. The wrinkles pressed out. She pulled and tugged at her hair until it was back in place. Then she looked up at her father, who gave her a nod and a low grunt before he stood up. Come, we should be going. His lips pursed into a fierce scowl as he walked toward one of the tunnels that led from the throne room. Mel hurried to keep pace with him, taking 2 quick steps for every stride. Father, why do you do this if you hate leaving the underworld so much? Hades remained quiet for long enough that Mel opened her mouth to apologize. I go to these events for a very complicated reasons. They walked along upward sloping tunnel. For one thing, it's the proper thing to do. We are all still family, even if a quarrelsome and fractious one. Dysfunctional. The word you're looking for, Father, is dysfunctional. Mel didn't say this out loud. She didn't even think it too fiercely, for fear it would be evident on her face. The family deserves my respect and adherence to our traditions. Hades' voice dropped to a growl. He came to a sudden stop, and his eyes found Mel's. Then there's spite. Truth told, my daughter, they don't want me there. Even the gods don't like being reminded of death and yawning Tartarus. They would prefer that I stayed here as keeper of the dead, that I fade away with all the other things buried and banished here. The rock around them trembled with his words. I will not be forgotten, Melanticos. I will not fade away as my younger brother wishes. I will make him, acknowledge me at every equinox and every solstice. His thunderous voice echoed down the tunnel. Stones dropped from the ceiling and smashed to powder at their feet. Mel cringed but held her peace. The echoes died away and the tunnel stopped trembling. Hades spun about and started walking up the sloping tunnel again. Come, we're going to be late. The subdued Mel scurried and fell into place behind her father. That's an excerpt from mortal.exe. I hope you enjoyed. I hope I didn't mess up too badly. We'll talk to you next time. Have a good evening.